Today is November 16th, 2023, and I am Kit Porter Van Meter, sharing with you a story from 56 years ago when I was a Peace Corps volunteer on the island of Rota in the Northern Mariana Islands. Because I do not have the original audio tapes and letters of correspondence with Simpson Jr High School, I am telling you about their contribution and caring for Rota School Library and this role in my life. On October 4th, 1967, a month after I arrived on Rota, I had written my parents about it, taking more than 2 months to receive their letters, fixing up a house to live in, attending 2 weddings, and the Rota School Library. About the library, I wrote, "I am reading stories every night at the library. The library was put together last summer by a Peace Corps volunteer and a contract teacher. It has a good collection of books, although small. Many of the stories I read I remember being read to me, Dr. Seuss and others. I will ask Simpson to send books. I'm also hoping to get a reference room cataloged, and maybe someday a card catalog. The library is very heavily used and is open Monday through Thursday night." The Simpson I mention is Simpson Jr High School in Huntington, New York, on Long Island. In June, roughly 4 months before writing this letter to my parents, I had completed my first year of teaching there. Now I wrote my former colleagues at Simpson and asked them to donate used children's books to the Rota School Library. I knew they were interested in what I was doing and would be willing to help. However, 1 month later, the need became much greater when on November 13th, 1967, the eye of Typhoon Gilda went over my new island home, devastating most of the buildings and farmland. After the school was repaired, it became a shelter for those who had no homes. Instead of teaching, my job became assisting the Red Cross. I was put in charge of distributing donated food to the community and helping with recovery efforts. When I was able to teach again, one of my activities was to reestablish the small school library. Simpson became a supporter, as described in the school paper, The Echo, January 31, 1968. The title of the story, Micronesian Children to Receive Books Collected by the Library Club. Beginning February 5 and continuing for 2 weeks, the Library Club is sponsoring a drive to collect books for the village of Rota, located on one of the Mariana Islands, Micronesia. Mrs. Catherine Porter, an English teacher at Simpson last year, accompanied by her husband, is in Rota teaching English to the indigenous people as a member of the Peace Corps. In a recent letter to Mrs. Eleanor Carrizo, Mrs. Porter told of a typhoon that directly hit Rota. Due to the typhoon, the children of the island are sorely in need of books on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade reading level. The Library Club is requesting used books to send to these children to supplement their meager supply. Members of the club will come to each homeroom to explain the details, answer questions, and collect contribution. The Library Club has already shipped several cartons of books on the junior high reading level to Rota in care of Mrs. Porter. On June 11, 1968, The Echo reported about one of my responses. Mrs. Porter has sent a tape recording and slides concerning Micronesia, which are available for use by Simpson students during a free period or after school. In a recent letter, Mrs. Porter also conveyed that all the cartons of books sent by the Library Club were received in good condition, and they are all very excited over the fine selection of books contributed by the Simpson students. The Library Club at Simpson was very active, with students working in the library and doing outreach, such as involving the students in collecting books for Rota, packaging, and sending these books. Some of my former students were in the Library Club. The previous year, I had been one of 9 new teachers at the school. I had graduated from college with a degree in English and education and was certified to teach English in the state of New York. From September 1966 to June 1967, I taught 1 7th-grade English class and 2 double-period 8th-grade English classes. It was a wonderful school at which to start my teaching career, and my classes and I made many trips to the library during the year. There was a well-developed curriculum, books for every student, involved parents, and the department head, Mr. Cozzetti, observed me and advised me. I started my day by assisting Mrs. Carrizo in homeroom 202. Homerooms had representatives on the student council, projects, and activities. One interesting requirement of the job was that I take a course on the town of Huntington that included field trips about geography, history, and industries, among other topics. This helped me understand the background of my students and be a better teacher. I've often thought that all communities should do this for their new teachers. Although I enjoyed my year teaching at Simpson, my life plan had been to join the Peace Corps, established by President Kennedy in 1961. On June 9th, in 1967, the Echo reported, "Several final farewells and best wishes will be in order at the close of this school year for 10 members of this year's teaching staff, as they are bound for new horizons." Of me they reported, "Micronesia? Yes, the Pacific Islands and the Peace Corps are to be Mrs. Catherine Porter's new home and a new opportunity for her to expand her unusual career." The June 9th Echo wrote, "There she goes, truly one of Simpson's VIPs, very interesting personalities. She may seem a mere English teacher to the average student, but Mrs. Porter has led a very unusual life." The article goes on to discuss my being a Navy girl, living in California, Washington, Oregon, Massachusetts, Virginia, Rhode Island, and China, attending many schools and learning to adapt quickly. Summer jobs including 3 as a mother's helper for a writer and his family, and 1 working in an oral surgeon's office. College activities including student library chairman, actor, president of the Art Photography Club. With the permission of Mr. Bromstead, I gave my exams early, turned in my grades, drove to my parents' home in Massachusetts, packed overnight, and got on a plane for Oakland, California. After a few days of interviews, questionnaires, shots, and information, we got on another plane with stops in Hawaii, Wake, Guam, and Moan before we began Peace Corps training on the island of Udot in the Truk Lagoon in Micronesia. On my first day of training, I learned that although the majority of the trainees were assigned to be English teachers, I was one of the few to have a degree and experience teaching English. Simpson had prepared me well. On August 28th, we were sworn in as Peace Corps volunteers, left Truk on September 1, went to Guam, then Saipan, then arrived on Rota September 4 to begin teaching at Rota School the next day. I remained in touch with my Simpson students and colleagues, and when Rota needed help after Typhoon Gilda, they assisted. Within the year, Rota School Library barely had enough room for all the books that had been donated. It would eventually move from a dedicated classroom to its own building. Pictured here is a Board of Education, signed from your third period class as a going-away present, June 13, 1967. Each student had signed it. Simpson Jr High School experienced a strike a year or two after I left and closed in June 1976 due to declining enrollment. Today, according to a website, the Simpson School building is Huntington Town Hall.